Hey everybody, it's Tyler Austin from Gungear Strategic. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing to either my player or my Patreon channels for exclusive content like this, as well as early access to my free content. With that being said, in this video, I'm going to be going over something I call the set step. So this is going to be a footwork, CQB footwork video. I already did some videos in the past on CQB footwork going over stuff like this. However, I've been getting a lot of requests to do more videos on footwork as well as redo what I did in my previous videos. Guess the video wasn't good enough, I don't know. But regardless, I've decided to go ahead and do that. But instead of making it into one long video like I did beforehand, I decided I'm going to take what I did in my previous footwork video and break it up into 2 to maybe even 3 separate shorter videos. So with that being said, in this video, again, I'm going to be going over something I call the set step, which is basically going to be our initial setting of our footwork as well as our initial orientation of our body to the edge of a threshold, apex, whatever we're going to be slicing out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into it. All right, so now let's start diving into the set step. Now, just so that you're aware, a set step is used in many different contexts and positions and so forth. And this context I'm going to be demonstrating it in, I'm just going to be approaching an open door and setting myself in a position to begin slicing out this room. But again, it's used in many different contexts. And if you watch my videos and continue to watch my videos on CQB, you're going to hear me referencing the set step many different times. So this is a very important video in terms of understanding what I'm talking about for footwork. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into it. So again, in this context, I'm approaching an open door. And I've already decided I'm going to begin slicing out that room. So I'm approaching the room, and at this point, I see that I'm starting to open up angles within the room. So I can start seeing angles within the room, and I'm also getting exposure from angles in the room as well. So at this point, it's time for me to, in this context, enter the set step. So what is it? So right now, my inboard foot, so my foot closest to the wall is forward. When I enter the set step, that's going to have to be reversed. So my outboard foot needs to actually step forward. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to step my outboard foot forward and slightly towards the wall in this case. And in this position, as I take this step, I'm also realigning my body. It's not a huge realignment because I'm technically on the narrow, but there's still a slight realignment of my body going on, as well as my footwork. So I step, and here, as I take the step, my toes are going to point at and orient towards the edge of the door frame in this case. So they always orient towards the edge of whatever I am slicing around. Could be a door frame in this case, could be the edge of a 90-degree break in a hallway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's always the edge of whatever, of the wall, door frame, whatever, that I'm working around to clear space and angles around. So again, I take that step forward. My toes are going to point towards the edge of the door frame in this case, as well as my hips are going to reorient themselves, and my shoulders are also going to orient themselves so that way they're pointed again at the edge of the door frame. So it looks like this in real speed. Boom. Also, a lot of times too, along with the set step, I'm also going to begin collapsing my gun as well. So that way it's out of my line of sight, because now I'm starting to begin to work this room. So good exposure management, gets it out of my eye line so I can see, and blah beyond the scope of this video. It'd be the same thing with a rifle. If I had a rifle and I approach, set step, collapse, and I'd begin to work the room. As well, again, in other contexts, here I might just be staging myself. Let's say I have a team with me, I might be waiting for a squeeze or whatever. Now, it's called a set step because not only am I setting this initial orientation, but here, this is the footwork I want to maintain as I, in this case, slicing out this room. So I want to maintain, every time I take a step, I'm actually maintaining the same footwork and the same general orientation. So this is where I'm putting myself in a position to properly slice out this room, and I want to maintain this position as I am slicing out this room. So I'm going to make a specific video. My next video is going to be on taking individual steps, but again, I'm setting myself into proper position to begin working this problem. That's why it's called a set step. So why do we want our footwork and our general orientation to be like this anyways? So there's going to be three main reasons. Number one, exposure. Number two, mobility. And number three, stability. So here, when I'm in this position and assuming I am taking proper individual steps, this is going to limit the chances of this particular leg, my outboard leg, from stepping and pre-triggering angles before I see into the same angles. Also, if my leg is back like this, right, number one, it's going to have a higher probability of stepping and pre-triggering angles before I'm able to see into them, but it's also generally going to step too far, and it's going to be visible to deeper angles that I'm not able to see into. So not only is it going to pre-trigger the angles I'm stepping into, but it's going to be exposed to angles that I can't see. So there's a lot of telegraphing and triggering going on that's going to happen if I have a tendency to want to slice with my leg back, which that's a problem. All right, good exposure management is here, so that way as I'm taking individual steps, this leg isn't flying out into angles that I'm not going to be able to see, or nor is it, again, assuming you're doing this correctly, there's some nuance to actually taking proper steps like this, which I'm going to cover in my next video, but it's also not going to fly into the angle before my eyes and my gun get there. So exposure. Number two, mobility. Here, I have a lot of mobility, especially in my capacity to bail away from the threshold if I need to, or whatever I'm slicing around. Here, if my rear leg is back or I'm more squared up, I don't have that same mobility. I don't. I'm going to have to probably step forward, load, and then bail away. Here, my outboard leg is already forward and it's loaded with the majority of my weight. So it's here, it's loaded, and it's in a mechanically strong position to drive me away from whatever I am slicing around. So mobility. And finally, number two, stability. This is particularly important in a team context. So if I am here, again, my outboard foot is loaded and it's got the majority of my weight, I am in a good stable position to get any, in the event that I get any like feedback or force applied to me from my rear, which happens quite a bit, because if I'm there and I have a number two man comes up and stages behind me to cover long security or something, maybe it gives me a little bit of a bump or whatever. If I'm here and with this good set step position, someone gives me a bump, I'm not going to go anywhere, because again, my outboard foot is forward, it's loaded, and it's a good reinforcement in the event that someone pushes me from behind. If I'm like this, I don't have any support forward of me. This leg really doesn't help me very much, and obviously my outboard foot is behind, so there's no stability here. So in the event that I get pushed, I'm gonna have a propensity to stumble forward or potentially even fall down. And in this case, it'd be really bad because I am stumbling or potentially falling down in front of the door, which is possibly the worst possible position to eat shit. So that is stability. So that is why we get into this position. Again, the set step, I'm here. Set step, I'm in a good, solid position to not only work this door effectively, but also for other things as well, such as bailing away or getting any feedback and absorbing any feedback that I might get, particularly from teammates. So that is why we use this set step and this particular foot and body orientation. Like I already mentioned in the beginning of the video, this is used in many different contexts, and you'll see this type of footwork and general body position replicate in many different contexts. So let's take a context that's completely separate from that. I already kind of demonstrated this a minute ago, but let's say I have a number 2 man who's going to begin slicing out this room, and number 1 man slicing out this open door, and I'm his number 2, and I need to cover long security, right? So it's going to look like this, all right? But you can notice I'm in roughly the same position, the set step. Now my orientation's different, obviously, because I'm not slicing out this room. I'm just holding forward security. But again, I do this in this particular context. There's a lot of reasons why I do this outside of what I already talked about here, because it's a different context and a different usage. But yeah, it's a set step. So as he begins slicing out this room, I have good body contact on him, and he's slicing out and he makes entry, right? So you can see, again, how this position a lot of times is going to be replicated even within completely different contexts rather than the one I just demonstrated here. So that is the set step. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'm Tyler Austin from Gunyear Strategic. Thank you so much for watching.